It's Radiant Silvergun for the Sega Saturn from Treasure, released in 1998. A game which is more famous for being expensive than a good game. And it's not a good game. It's a great game, but is it worth the asking price of several $100s for a real copy of the game? Several $100s for a game, that's right. Well, you're paying for rarity, not necessarily quality. Now, fortunately, this is not like a celebrity that's just famous for being famous. Radiant Silvergun does have the gameplay to back up its fame. But I just wouldn't want to be the guy that spends $500 on a copy only to find it on Xbox Live the next week for $15. Always a risk that you run when buying older games with a cult following. Because, let's face it, eventually every video game ever made will be available somewhere for download. But let's move beyond that. Let's actually look at the gameplay, because whether or not you fork over the big bucks to buy a real copy, find a copy out there some other way, or eventually just download it for one of the major game consoles, Radiant Silvergun is a kick-ass spaceship shooter. We're only going to be watching a small fraction of the gameplay here. I'm not that good at Radiant Silvergun. It's a lot like Ikaruga, also from Treasure. It's like a bullet hell spaceship shooter combined with a puzzle game. You're not just shooting waves of enemies attacking you and collecting power-ups that increase your strength. Your spaceship is equipped with 7 weapons that you can activate using different buttons on the Saturn controller. It works really well. And a big part of the game is learning which weapons to use on which enemies. And the weapons power up the more that you use them. It's a strategic game that requires a great deal of memorization. I tend to gravitate more towards traditional spaceship shooters like Raiden, Musha, Gigawing, Robo-Alest, and Thunder Force, but I'm as impressed with Radiant Silvergun as I'd hoped I would be after hearing about it for all of these years. A copy was finally donated by Jose in New Mexico. Thank you for the giant Sega Saturn lot of donations. Do I recommend that everybody run out and buy a copy? You know, you really should have just as much fun with Galactic Attack on the Saturn, which costs $5. In much of the game, you'll be fighting end bosses, which you basically disassemble piece by piece using your weapons. That's a lot of fun. And for what it's worth, Radiant Silvergun does pack the replay value. Because you're automatically equipped with 7 different weapons, there's pretty much an unlimited variety of ways that you can play the game. But maybe only a handful of those are the exact right way to play the game. I found certain weapons that I enjoyed using more than others, so in a way you can personalize your Radiant Silvergun experience. Which is a good thing. I mean, you'll be broke after you buy a copy of it, so you may as well play it a lot. And since it is a famous game, there's always those rumors circulating out there that finally it'll be on Xbox Live, or PlayStation, or something, Vectrex. So, we can all hope. If Ikaruga made it to Xbox Live, perhaps this will too. And depending on when you listen to this review, maybe it's already live, maybe it's the future, maybe dinosaurs ate you because they come back in the future. Time to get my ass kicked. The parts of the game that I've memorized, I'm pretty good at. There's some end bosses I just haven't quite figured out yet. There's attack patterns, there's different weapons to use on them. That's the fun part of Radiant Silvergun, just figuring it out, and then mixing that strategy with bullet hell style reaction time gameplay. I'll say this for it, as complicated as it is, it's very playable, approachable, and well balanced. It's an easy game to jump in and play, and the presentation is outstanding. It looks great, it sounds great, it's got nice production value, and Radiant Silvergun has some truly imaginative end boss battles. Yeah, I dropped to continue because I suck at the game. To be honest, I think there's other shooters in the Saturn which are better games for a lot less money. Donpachi, Dodonpachi. Galactic Attack is probably the best value, also known as Layer Section or Ray Crisis. But if you're into those very tactical, strategic shooters like Ikaruga and have been saving up for years, then you certainly will not be disappointed with Radiant Silvergun until it comes out the next week for $5. But it's also one of those games that works well with the Saturn controller and the excellent D-pad and button configuration. Even if you don't have a copy of this, it's one of the reasons that you own a Sega Saturn, because you could. It's a showpiece for what the Saturn is capable of. Amazing, stylish 2D spaceship shooters.
西暦2220年調査していた科研3名は一体何が